Hi everyone, and hi Rax, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. In continuation of Living in the Future series, where we've been talking a lot about AI and how it's gonna completely reshape the world as we currently know, it would be interesting to actually touch upon and just do a status check on whether AI is already intelligent than humans today. And this is a topic that came to my mind because recently the headlines has been that AI scored higher than humans on the International Math Olympiad. And given that it's kind of like an intelligence test, and it's also like a completely new question paper that AI must not have known previously. So it's I think it's a fair comparison, and I would like to know what you're thinking about that.
Yeah, I think this topic is, we've been talking about it and everyone has been talking about it for the past, I don't know, like a 4 years ever since like a GPT came out. It's like, oh, I say it's smarter than humans. What is it doing? And like, where is it lacking? And can it defeat humans in all the benchmarks and things like that? So, but yeah, now it's like a very exciting time specifically because I think one of the things that was considered AI can never break good's math because we always thought humans it needs a lot of creativity and humans are really good at it. And to be fair, it's not completely cracked it yet, but now it's clearly proved that by international math securing gold international math Olympiad AI is can be at par with humans today, and then it's only growing, so it can be much better than humans in math and many other topics as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the usual common critique when AI is tested on these things is that, it's possible that AI is trained on all the prior Olympiad questions and answers. So it actually has an edge. So because it's again ultimately a pattern matching thing. So I people might say that this is not an indicator of true intelligence. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, yes and no, but some things like you can like facts like who like was Abraham Lincoln a president of USA or like there's various facts. These ones are like it just like a based because it's been stored and then you could just like give it out and these things I can imagine like you can say something like it's been there in the training data, you just gave it out. But I think math specifically, even one of the key tenets of math is that even though you see all the previous problems, even though you know all the formulas or whatever, it's still difficult to come out solutions with new solutions. That's what people see it all the time. Even in the exams when you write, you're given like a lot of problems, and in exam when you give a completely new problem, only if you deeply understand what's going on, you'll be able to answer the question. Yeah, now it's a philosophical question, really, whether you really understand it or not. But my definition is that if it can solve the tasks, that's good enough. And it's a new problem that it has never seen before. And the game is the same, right? Like humans have not seen it, AI has not seen it, and they're solved. I think it's fair game, in my opinion.
Okay, now just like shifting gears a little bit, I the question that I'm personally more interested in is knowing whether is AI more intelligent than humans already.
Mm,
And for that, you can say that if you look at an average human, the IQ of an average human is like 100, roughly 100.
mm.
So
By definition, it's 100
yeah,
because
yeah. So the question is, do you think AI is already more intelligent than a typical human because there are a lot of talks about like AGI and super intelligence,
mm,
and I'm guessing that yeah, super intelligence is likely going to be intelligent than every single human.
mm,
Only then you might be giving it the name of super intelligence, but
mm,
if even if AI is already intelligent than an average human,
mm,
don't you think it's a big feat on its own, and that would
mm.
actually lead to a lot of ripple effects?
Yeah, definitely. So I think speaking of IQ scale, maybe IQ is not exactly the right way to measure AI intelligence, and I think benchmarks is the way to go because if you say IQ, it's about how good can it identify new patterns and it can solve new problems it has not solved before. I think that's what IQ has to do. But in a lot of things, what you find is that there's like very simple things that human can do, like as simple as if you understand something, understanding whether it's a joke or not or like detecting like whether I mean, of course, there's like a lot of sarcasm identifying AI agents there, but then to actually deeply understand what someone is doing, or even like in terms of problem solving, simple problem solvings like very simple problem solving. Like you see this RKJ benchmark that is about like a very simple pattern matching kind of problem solving so that we can solve. So there's like a lots of various things to it. I think there's some things where humans can do really well, but AI is still struggling, and there's some things where humans will be quite bad at it, and AI can be doing good job. So I think there's like a various skills to it, and we can talk about individual steps of it. But
Yeah,
yeah, you can.
definitely. Yeah, I agree that intelligence can be measured in different dimensions. Like IQ is more like a pattern matching kind of way of measuring intelligence. There's obviously EQ, which is more emotional quotient, and that's not something I think AI is not known for, and I don't think people
I
are
don't think
even
EQ is a thing that exists.
yeah,
Yeah.
people are even actively optimizing the models to be better at emotional cues.
Yep.
So going by the sense that I think what's more relevant is like take a work of a knowledge worker.
Mm,
So a knowledge work, if a knowledge worker's work could be done by AIs, then we can say that
yep.
that's one way of benchmarking
For
the
sure.
intelligence, I would say. So if we take that, do you think AI is already there?
Uh, I think uh, I think I don't think A is already there, but I do think that with the current technologies and with the way in which like A is becoming more and more advanced, what I think is that I think the technology is already here. So I'll explain what I mean by that, right? So I think here's let's take a thought experiment. So here's the rules of the game. Like you're given a human and you're having an AI competing with it, and then you can give any task. Like it can be like a mathematics, it can be like a do like a PowerPoint like a consultant, or you do write like a code like an engineer, etc. And I think if you're given a normal human who are good at this task versus like an AI and then like an AI engineer who can do whatever he wants with it, they can train it, they can add new data to it, they can teach these new problems, and they have enough money as well. Like let's say they have enough money to train these things. So under these circumstances, I think for almost all the problems, AI can do at least as much or like a better than humans in almost all the tasks, like mathematics or software engineering, without needing any radically new technology, with the same transformer architecture, with the same training things that we are doing, with the same techniques that we are using. I think just like with given enough money and time that we spend, we can solve almost all the benchmarks. That's what I think. Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think, though?
yeah, I think you can say that the algorithm, we cracked the algorithm to make AI intelligent, and what it needs is more compute, as in it needs, and what it needs is more data. I think, and then I think you will get to the point of replacing a knowledge worker who's doing, let's say, an Excel, for example. And yeah, what I mean by that, what I mean by compute, what I mean by data is that like a lot of what humans do these days, are like you need a lot of like context of like why you do what we do, and in order to give more context to these models, what you need is like obviously the number of tokens, for example. And one of the limitation in the AI models right now is like they have a context limit. So that's something you can obviously keep growing the context limit. The limit of context can be increased by if you spend on more compute, if you spend. So that's what I mean. So all I'm saying is like if we agree that the algorithm is fundamentally there, it's about, it's like building the body of an AI. It's like the brain, the functions of the brain exist already. Right now we are trying to build the body for the intelligence so that it can actually do the task end to end, and it's not just about like thinking about it. It's not just about like AI suggesting that, oh, given that this is the problem that you just asked,
Mm.
this is how I will solve it. So I think right now it's all very instructions and text heavy in the way the intelligence is currently there. And for it to actually do the task, it needs the body that's currently missing.
Yeah, but I don't think even think that's true for a lot of cases. For example, in the math test that we took, It's just text, right? You just need to churn out text out. In coding, you just need to give coding out, and PPT
Yeah.
this. So I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
just I think for a lot of these tasks, still it's not able to do good job. It hallucinates or it doesn't remember it exactly. A lot of these things. And my claim, I think, is that
yeah, it,
it's
but if
not
it
just
doesn't
about
remember, Prax, it comes back to the context, right?
yeah, true. But I think if you want to simplify it, I think it's just all about you just have to spend enough time on like specific problem we have to solve, and yeah, with like enough time that you spend, you can solve it already. That's what I would be saying to that. It can be various reasons that you can teach it like in the current organization how it works, or it can be just fine tuning on new data, as you said, like putting more compute. But I think at the end it comes down to just sitting down and solving a problem it has not solved before. And yeah, and people are doing it already. You see, like in Y Combinator startups or like hundreds of startups that are coming daily. People are identifying, hey, this is the niche. The humans are still doing it. Let's build an AI agent to do that. So I do think in almost all the domains, you can build an AI agent that can do job almost as good as an AI, as a human.
Yeah, I think that actually comes down to the question that I asked before, which is like intelligence. Is it about solving a math problem,
Mm,
or is it about like doing work of a knowledge worker?
mm,
And the answer that I was trying to give is like if you have to look at replacing a knowledge worker, you need to
mm,
have the body, which is
mm,
the different tools it has access to,
mm,
is kind of very key in
mm,
actually getting AI all the way to the finish line.
mm, mm,
But if you talk about the math test, which it did evidently do, right? So we do
mm,
have an evidence. So which is again a text-based thing, and it
mm,
was able to solve it. So
mm,
in fact, I would say that is actually a proof that the brain is already there. Like
mm,
it can actually, it has the intelligence
mm, mm,
to definitely
mm,
replace an average human.
mm,
So obviously, everyone's like, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to build super intelligence. Sam Altman is trying to build AGI. So it's going under different names, but when they say super intelligence or AGI is, I would assume that what they mean is it is intelligent than even the smartest human.
mm.
So
So,
only if it's, but I would say that you don't need to see the effects in the future or in the current world for it to get to the stage of it being intelligent than every human for it to change the world. It need not be the case, right? It can just be that, oh well, it's already good enough to do most of the tasks. So I'm sure that that is an intelligence that can be exploited and leveraged.
yep. And I do think like some specific parameters are missing in this. I think even in the current world, one of the recent advances in AI is the test time adaptation or test time compute. So what that means is that previously people are putting lots of data, like a whole internet of data, and they're like giving that to an AI, then they're training it and giving, and AI would be giving an output. But right now with the reasoning models, what is the pattern that you see is that it not just in the training time but in the inference time or like time in which it gives the output, it doesn't just predict one token or like one output. It will just keeps on predicting like in like a chain of thought reasoning, as we call it. Like it just like hey, if you are asking like a math question, hey, can we try this, or let's do this one, and then like let's try this angle, so it doesn't work, let's go on other things. So it has like a chain of thought of reasoning where it goes through like 100 chains of thought of thinking steps, or 1,000, or even as high as we go. So one thing that we are noticing is that more thinking time it takes, more better it gets. I think that has been very clearly established in a lot of like IQ tests, like benchmarks or like a math benchmarks, etc. So what is happening is that if you are given 1 month and then you can run an AI to do a specific job, it's doing better and better, and it's doing more and more complex job. So that also hints that it's just a matter of time, right? A human will be taking some task in like 10 seconds, let's say, but AI is solving it in like a 1 week. So it's a matter of like optimization, and it can do the same job, but it takes more time. So I think that's a phenomena that's definitely going on. So time is definitely like a phenomenon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you and I both agree is that it's there. Like AI is already
Yep.
sufficiently intelligent,
Yep.
and even I would say I go as far as to say that it's already intelligent than an average human being.
Yeah.
So
Or
it,
already intelligent, or
Mm.
if with a little work we can make it intelligent, or it's just like a 1 year of time when we can. There's some issues like long context length or remembering the past is an issue. That's easily a solvable thing. That yeah, I'm saying easily, but there's like hundreds of researchers working on it. But it's a solvable problem. We know that. So I do think, yeah, as we were talking, the AI is pretty much with the current technology. It, it can be, or it is already smarter than humans, and the main things that is missing are the time, the thinking time, and the cost. Cost is also like a massive expensive than a human. So I think these are the two main parameters that's missing. But yeah.
Yeah. So I think the next natural question is like, why don't we see any effect in the day-to-day lives? For example, like me, I'm a consultant, and I don't think even AI is considered in the horizon of how it's gonna
Mm,
replace or like
mm,
completely change our lives. Or
mm,
I'm sure like in as an engineer, for example, you do feel, have cursor now, which is like super helpful. I'm
yeah.
sure like that has changed your life completely. So I still don't see like like a game changing effect of AI still. And partly you can say that like the tools, the connection of the brain and the body is not there. That's probably one reason, but I don't think that's entirely it, because you can take a particular vertical, for example, like engineering. I'm sure like there are so many companies working on it, but I still don't think if the current startups that are currently working on it, or even like the bigger firms currently pushing the frontier, is not gonna probably impact us for the next a year or 2 years, I would say. And we know the answer. So do you want to talk about why that would be the case?
Yeah, so I think there's two main reasons for it. I think one main reason, as I was telling earlier, is that people are simply not put the time to do that really. So if it's like some niche domain like compliance, let's say, or like some medical device development, let's say. So I think it's like no one really knows about it, and there's not that many people solving this problem either because the money is not big or not that many people know about this problem. So I think
Or
if
it
you
could
just
be intersection, right? It could be intersection of compliance. People are really good at compliance, but they don't
exactly.
know AI. So it's like the
Exactly,
intersection.
exactly. So I just, for whatever reason, I think the technology is that people are not spent enough time to solving it, and eventually, when they find out, they're going to be solving it. I think that's one big reason why that's not happening, and people are already doing it, and that's why, again, a lot of people are saying that now is the last time to become rich or like become a product because it's if not in next 1 year, in 2 years, someone is going to build it, and now better be you building it than someone else, right? So, but that phenomena you see is already happening. And there's another phenomena that is also the adoption by the companies, right? So companies want to be risk averse and they want to be only adopting products that has been well established and it's been proven. So to get into the current market, get into the current industry which people are using, you have to convince the decision makers it's actually a good product. So to convincing people are already talking about how do you adopt AI, etc. But still, currently you have a way of working. Currently you have like a hiring 100 people, and then you have like a management, or and then you have certain like a hiring pipeline, and you get it done. So to disrupt that, you better be convinced that. Okay, we can replace it with agents and it doesn't give like any unintended effects. Or if it gives us unintended effects, how do we solve it, etc. So that one, it will take time. And I think that is also been happening already. You see this happening, which is like people hire A and then they found out that it's not doing this job, then you hire back all the engineers again. So that's definitely phenomena. So I think that's not because the technology is not there. It's simply because we don't really know how do we adopt it with the current world really. One example I want to say is that remember this video by like a popular legal channels, like law channels, which was mentioned that hey look, ChatGPT, it's so bad, it's doing hallucinating, it's quite bad. So moral of the lesson is don't use ChatGPT for it. So I think he got it right. It's not doing the job yet, but the conclusion is not that don't use AI. Conclusion is that we have to find out ways how do we adopt it into the current world, and yeah, that's something we need to figure out. And again, it's just a matter of time that in which we have to figure that out.
Yeah, I think there was one important point you said, which is like the adoption. And as we know, like there is a general way of adopting a new technology. Like when a new technology is introduced into the world, there are early adopters who are going to like readily accept it and test it and play with it and readily embrace it. And there is a early adopters customer segment. But for something to actually become mainstream, it follows a diffusion curve. It's almost like an S curve. and wherein like the early stage it will be like the early adopters will be there, but for it to become mainstream, there is a tipping point at which it becomes mainstream, right? And it's almost like an S curve, and it takes like different products have different diffusion curve timelines, and I feel like for AI the diffusion curve will probably be, in my view, a year or two, because you need to build the domain specific expertise. It could be by finding the domain specific data first. Second is how to do it cheaply, so you need to make sure, like, it doesn't like break the bank. As long as, if the cost of making a human do it is lower than cost of an AI doing it, I don't think there's even a business case for a company to replace a human with an AI. So obviously cost is a bigger thing. So cost is one thing, and it has to be sufficiently good. For it to be sufficiently good, it needs to have the right data, the domain specific data, and it also needs to have access to all the tools, and it has to do it in a safe way, as in like it's not gonna like randomly like fuck up everything that you have in the system on a random day, and like with no failover or fail safe mechanism. And the biggest thing about the LLMs is like it's non-deterministic, so it's like every time you ask it to do a certain thing, it's not going to be the same response, right? So, and that's something that people, it's almost like you are used to like Google search giving you the same like links. You're not used to like Google search giving you like different set of links every time you search it. Like you have an expected pattern of how the technology works. Like technology has always been like, if else, or if else if else. So basically there are if and an action, else and an action. And but right now, if it's if whatever action, else whatever action, it won't be like consistent. And I feel
And
like it's all of these things will probably be leading to like user change, user adoption, which is like change of mindset, and ease of ease of working with something that is not deterministic.
yeah, and other than just adopting implies the technology is already there. But I think it's also about, as we said, sometimes people have to spend time to build the technology, and it's also about understanding how the world in 5 years will look like. So means that in cursor kind of thing, what you already see is that okay, this was never meant to replace humans, or like it's not doing as good a job, but instead of you writing code or you writing PowerPoint, AI is already doing the PowerPoint for you. Now your job is to approve as much PowerPoints as possible, approve as much code as possible. So that means you are seeing the whole thing in a different way. And then that means we still need to understanding of for every single company. So how do you want to see it? What should the humans do? What should the AI do? Or do we need humans at all? And I think these kind of things you'll only know as you try it out, and that takes time again.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why we don't see the direct impact of any incremental intelligence that's built into a model. And it's probably because I think the feedback loop, or even like the what you call it, the adoption is gonna be there. The same diffusion curve is gonna take place in each model upgrade. It's going to not just directly come to the market and you have access to that intelligence the next day as soon as someone releases a new version of a model. So I think that's something, I guess now it's quite clear. And this I think another question that we had is like, let's assume that like the first version, like the first diffusion curve of like everyone's life getting completely changed by AI has happened. What do you think would like the life look like
Okay,
afterwards?
before going that, you mentioned diffusion curve again. Can you explain in simple terms to the audience what do you mean by that when you say,
Yeah, I think a diffusion curve, I think a good
or
example
in
of
simple
talking about,
example?
yeah, it's probably, I think, let's take smartphones, for example. So when before smartphones, everyone had their own like Nokia devices where it was like, or Blackberries where it was like you're typing using like keyboards, keys, right? And smartphone was introduced by Apple, for example. And for I don't think the minute that Apple released its iPhone, everyone like knew that it's much superior than anything that they ever had. So it's not like people just dumped all their normal phones or like Blackberries and Nokias, and then they went and queued in the Apple store and got the new one just because it's good. So people still like obviously had their own phones, and they're used. For example, the general life cycle or lifetime of a phone is probably 3 to 4 years, right? And only when someone is at the fourth year of their current phone and they were looking to replace it, they'll go and look into buying a smartphone, and whether again if it was affordable to them, and if the features that are offered by it is actually what they need. But for example, if someone's simply just making phone calls, I don't think a smartphone is going to give them any incremental benefit. If only that if you wanted to access internet using their phone, I'm sure like then smartphone would make a better sense for them. So the utility for them is there. So I think if I have to say the diffusion curve of like smartphones, it would have been an S curve, and the early adopters would have definitely started using it in a couple of months. But when it came to actual mainstream adoption of smartphones, it could have taken 2 years or even 3 years for it to actually become a mainstream adoption.
So it's about
So
like a
yeah.
completely new technology. If you,
Mhm.
it's like a complete, yeah, people won't immediately adopt it. It will take some time. It will slowly penetrate into the market, and suddenly there'll be like a lot of people who will be adopting it, and
Yeah,
and that becomes the new normal. And
yeah, that
then like
becomes the
and then it
dominant
takes
model.
time for rest of the world to change. Like in smartphones, the internet has to keep up, or like the people have to find out how to do the calls, and then the whole thing has to keep up. That will take some time. That's what I think we are
Yeah,
saying
the
about
simple thing
both.
is,
The
yeah,
same
it's
thing about
gonna,
AI as well.
yeah, I think so. In fact, every new technology goes through a diffusion curve, and AI is definitely also going through that right now, and that's the reason why we don't see it any immediate effect or immediate change in our lives because AI is extremely intelligent.
Cool, cool. Yeah, 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 that's fair. And then I think the diffusion curve for AI is already in progress. Where I think it's progress in full fledged because like everyone knows that AI is going to be changing everything. So people are just racing to understand how do you push it to the market, how do you adopt it, how do you find customers, etc. And I think it's happening as we speak at tremendous pace than anything else we've seen before.
Yeah. And yeah, I think the final question would be like in the world wherein like AI is more intelligent and it's so obvious because all the products and like all the work that you do, AI is probably doing it quicker, probably equally good. I know, or even slightly better. So what happens then?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, in a purely theoretical world where, like, let's assume there's no problems, AI is good at humans in all metrics, and AI is faster and cheaper, obviously you'll have to replace you can replace all knowledge workers, or even if you have robotics as well, you can replace all humans with AI, and then I think that can be like yeah, definitely no business is going to say for altruistic reasons, like I'm not going to do that. They're obviously going to do that. But I think that's where the nuance is there, right? I think in some cases, it's not just about doing the job, it's about trust versus like human interactions and a lot of these things. I give a simple example. Even if AI can do a better job than a prime minister, it's not about doing a better job. It's about the people trusting the job of a prime minister and then like they're letting them to do those things. And the same as the CEO, right? Even though an AI can do this, you'll still have probably like a CEO job because the board of directors don't want just an AI to run it and want someone to be accountable, someone to do those things. And I think these kind of roles, I think it's still going to be there. So I think this kind of trust-based economy that will not be replaced, and you'll still, or like as simple as like a personal assistant. Like, okay, I trust you to do this job. So there, I think these kind of things, I think it inevitably be there. The question remains: can AI earn your trust, and then it still can do it? Maybe I think that's possible, but not sure that's happening anytime soon. But I think more interesting thing is that what will realistically happen over the next 10 years in AI? What I think is that I think the technology is already there to smash every single benchmark and every single task that human is doing. I think it's doing quite well. I think you'll find some small things where AI is not able to do. And that's where I think there'll be like a lot of more research that will be spent on. So one of the interesting thing you see in various domains is that it's quite easy to get 98 percentage working well, or maybe a 99. So getting 99.9, 99.99, that's when things get much more harder. So what I think will happen is that everything AI will be good at, I think it will be replaced it already. Like in a chip design, for example, if things do take 100 people to do it, it will be taking like a one AI agent, one person with an AI agent to managing to do it. Or same in consulting, same in coding and various other jobs. But I think what will tend to be happening is that if it does some mistakes, you need a human to approve it. It's not reliable in certain cases, or it is from some certain niche cases, it's very high impact, like a trading, for example, you need an approver. So what will end up happening will be probably the role might be flipped, right? You'll have an AI doing all the jobs, and then you'll be having like a five people approving it, and now you find out that okay, now if five people approve it, you can get job done and so on. So now if 10 people can approve this, you can get much more jobs and much more smarter you can do things. So that means you'll grow people doing that jobs which AI cannot do. So I think these kind of niches that AI cannot do, I think that will be uh, area where like humans can contribute, and that will be all. Example
Yeah.
that I would like to give for that would be an industrial revolution, right? You saw humans were doing like a building steam engines and then doing a lot of things manually. And then you saw factories came, it automated a lot of these things. But still humans were there and they're doing a lot of jobs. They're not lifting weights or using hammers or whatever, but still they are making sure the machines are doing the job, it will be doing this. So similarly, I think there'll be an industrial revolution of AI where you'll have AI as a factory doing like a knowledge work, and you'll have humans will be approving whether it's doing good job or not. So I think that's how the world will be looking like. And maybe who knows, in next 15 years you don't even need this and you can automate the whole thing. But I think
Mhm.
realistically this is the factory kind of situation where you'll be end
Yeah.
up in the near future.
Yeah, I think 10 years down the lane, I don't think there's going to be like massive unemployment, and then the unemployment rate is now I mean is currently what, less than 10%, right? And it's going to be, it's not going to be like 50% in 10 years from now. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think what's likely going to be the case is that extremely smart people will actually help AI get even better and better. And even those people who used to do like the knowledge work will probably be either monitoring the AI, making sure that it's doing the job properly, and it's not screwing up. And if it's getting stuck, you help AI get over the glitch. So that could be one of the tasks that they do. And apart from that, I think there's going to be like data labeling factories, and people are going to be employed by data labeling companies. It's almost like everyone's working towards making AI better. So data labeling is going to be helpful, and it's going to be still needed because there's going to be a lot of industries where AI doesn't penetrate, and probably the most high value industries. And it's natural for startups to focus only on those domains first, and even the big tech to focus on those domains first and have AI adoption and AI sales happen there. And there's going to be certain domain, for example, I think. If I have to think about something, it's probably like a care for it's like physiotherapist, for example. It could be like a lot of like areas where the utility of like having AI is not probably going to be there in the first 5 years, because there are so many other areas where it's much more easier to do like replace the software, for example. I think if there's a software and it's a software heavy industry, then I'm sure like AI is going to be going to be the first one, like going to tackle those areas first, and then I think it'll go to tougher and more niche areas. And when it goes to the more niche areas, you need much more specialized data. You need to have much more like human enabled way to get to the finish line. And probably people are going to be working on those areas, trying to help AI get there. And yeah, that's how I see it. And yeah, I think 10 years from now, that's the case. And beyond that, I think we'll we'll have to think more.
What till after 50 years from now?
Yeah, yeah, I think 50 years from now, it's possible that we taught AI everything there is to teach us humans, and it's
Yeah.
probably going to help us actually. Maybe it's about helping us in like interplanetary travel, and it could be things that we never even dreamed of that's going to happen in the next 50 years.
That's the thing, right? I think complexity is unlimited, really. Like we are building so and so complex things, but we can build a lot more complex aspects. Why not build computers that can be 1000x faster than right now? Why not travel faster to the space? Why not solve all the cancer research? I think there's infinite problems to be solved, and I think I don't see an end to the amount of problems we can solve it. So I think there's enough job for either humans or AI to do in the next 50 years.
Yeah, nice. I think that's a good way to end this podcast. And thanks everyone for
Thanks.
joining. Thanks,
And
Brax, for sharing your insights.
And thank you. Bye bye. See you.
Bye.